year later and I finished all 100 endings. Was it worth it? Hey guys, it's xNonentity here, and now that I finally finished playing the game a year later, I decided what better way as an introduction to my 100 line analysis series is to make a simple review video about my honest thoughts and opinions. Now disclaimer, I'm no expert, I'm just someone who loves these type of games. This is also my first gaming review on my channel, so forgive me if this is a bit wonky. But hey, we all gotta start somewhere. I've always been a fan of visual novels, story-based games, mystery games such as Danganronpa and death game related tropes. So when 100 Line got released, I was just naturally drawn to such big project. Being that this was Tokyo Games' holy grail or else bankruptcy, I was just curious to see how this goes. Everything said here is just my personal thoughts and opinions, but I hope someone like me, even though I'm just your generic everyday player of the game and literally just a nobody, you'll find my review simple and straight to the point to comprehend. So without further ado, let's get started. The 100 Line Last Defense Academy is a visual novel tactical RPG game developed by Tokyo Games, released on April 24, 2025. We follow mainline protagonist Takumi Samino and 14 other students to defend the school for 100 days, where along the way, we make choice-based decisions that lead to different endings with different themes. First off, right off the bat, this game's selling point was promoted as 100 different endings, which at a glance is quite daunting to hear, but I like the ambition of it. The thing I really love about Kadaka as a whole is that he really does whatever the heck he wants. Even if it's controversial, even if he knows people won't really quote-unquote like it, he just stays true to what he wants to write at the end of the day. And I feel many writers are hesitant to write what they want due to fear. But Kadaka is like, F that. And if 100 endings is what he wants, so be it. I feel like it's also good marketing strategy. Daka literally was like,
this game is going to be 100 endings and I'm gonna pull it off
type of thing. So to me, you gotta admire that. There are more serious routes, more comedic routes, more mystery routes, lighthearted routes. I just appreciate how diverse the routes are. But overall, I really love how we are in Takumi's perspective when making these choices. The choice-based decisions really have an impact on the story. I found myself questioning the decision I make often. Like, did I make the right choice? Did I mess up? I kind of like that aspect of it. I do also have to say that even though it's a choice-based game where we as the player are controlling where the story goes, I love how much influence Takumi has over them. Like, he's not just a protagonist where you insert yourself in. A neat detail I noticed is that you get good endings if you consider Takumi's feeling about the impending decision. Basically, if you went with decisions that are true to his heart. On the flip side, choices where you ignore his desires altogether gets you the least favorable outcome. The lore building surrounding the mystery of the school and the invaders had me curious to learn more. I love the compelling storytelling, the twists and turns, and the characterization this game has to offer. Although I do have to say, some characters do shine more than others. But depending on the route that you're on, you get one-on-one time with a particular character, which I really enjoy. You also have bond time events to learn more about them, yet I wish the mechanic was a bit better. I wasn't really a big fan on how free time events were set up. In my opinion, they were very simplistic, which isn't bad in itself, but there could have been more to it. In order to make the gifts for them, you had to go out and scavenge the materials with this board game feature. The mechanics was cool at first, but I could take it or leave it. Most of the time, I would just skip through it. In terms of gameplay, the RPG battle stuff, I enjoyed it. I love how characters were given individual special abilities. The mechanics are easy to understand, and I like how you can just choose how you want to strategize your gameplay. Like, I know some people like to kamikaze their characters for more ammunition, and some people like to use all their specials and stuff for later, like me. Or some people love keeping Nozomi so she can just heal Takumi cause he's just OP with his powers. Or you can just use Kako cause she's the goat that got me through so many of the final battles. I kid you not, Kako is the goat. She is the best. But you get what I mean, you decide how you want to tackle the final bosses. So you're probably all wondering, would I recommend the 100 line? If you're used to games with multiple endings, especially in visual novels that are heavy reading such as Danganronpa and Zero Escape, I don't think playing this game is a problem. If you picked this up, I believe you had to be crazy enough to attempt it in the first place. But perhaps if you have a shorter attention span, or you're someone who doesn't really play reading heavy games like this, it really isn't going to be your cup of tea. Especially, I do have to argue that sometimes the pacing can be weak and some routes are entirely pointless. After all, I bet it is tough to create 100 endings that all pack a punch. It can get repetitive, always trying to skip through cutscenes we see a billion times. I'm not kidding, you would need a bit of patience to play this game. If you're crazy enough to speedrun the game straight for a couple of days, go right ahead, but my advice is just to play the game at your own pace. For me, when it came out, I streamed the first half until the first choice decision, but once I realized that it would be too long to keep as an ongoing series, especially since I work a full-time job, I just decided to play it on my own free time. In that way, I can just enjoy it by myself. And oh boy, I'm glad I did, because I feel like I enjoyed it more and didn't burn myself out. Although I am guilty of playing the game straight for months. But yet again, I had to take a break and come back to it months later. And here we are, back a year later after the release. So yeah, took me a year, but I eventually got it done. Overall, I rate this game an 8.5 out of 10. Aside from its weak points, I found the game very enjoyable, fun, and unique. 2Q Games went all out with this game's release, and you can tell by its final result. Yes, the game is not for everyone, it's very niche, but it works. It's creative. Now before I go, I just want to give some notable mentions, like what was my favorite route and who were my favorite characters. I'd probably make a whole video about this, few shoutouts. If you don't want spoilers, feel free to end this video here, and thanks for watching. But my favorite route, hands down, would be the Cult of Takumi route. And a character that took me by surprise was Yugamu. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for tuning in at the end of this video. I hope you guys have an amazing day, and don't forget to subscribe as I plan to post more 100 line analysis in the future.